Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, people of all ages, welcome back to the Sticky Floors podcast. I am one of your hosts, CJ. I am joined by Mr. Will, and tonight we are talking about American History X. Don't get it twisted because we're smiling right now. This is not a lighthearted film by
No.
any stretch of the imagination. If you have not seen it, it's a definite movie for you to see, especially in these days and times that we live in now, because a lot of what's in here is a lot of what you seeing on TV and the internet all the time. Mr. Will, what's up with you? How you doing, sir?
Man, I'm feeling refreshed. I was on a world tour like Tribe Called Quest said, man.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard that, man. I heard that. I'm looking for on you for looking for you on Instagram, man. Trying to find your IG stories, all your adventures, man. But
Shh.
like they say, bad boys
Boys
move in
move in
silence,
silence.
silence and violence. So that's how that is. If this is your first time listening to the Sticky Floors podcast, welcome to the experience. We hope that you enjoy your time with us. Every week we talk about movies. Sometimes movies are in theaters. Sometimes they're movies that have not been in theaters for a long time. Tonight we're talking about a film that came out in 1998, but last week we did Tron Ares. So that was a brand new review of a film that was just out. Please go check that out and check out the show. If you have not done so already, please subscribe so that when our drops come out, you get them. We are in the midst of pushing for 100 new subscribers by our 100th episode. This is our 98th. So once again, hit the subscribe button so you get our drops and support us, because the support and the feedback that we get from all of you helps us to do this stuff better, and it helps us to be motivated to continue to come back and continue to deliver these high quality reviews of some movies you may have never seen and some that you may have seen a bunch of times, like this one is for us. With that said, I'm going to kick it over to my man, Mr. Will, for the summary of American History X.
Oh, man. Thank you, CJ. Appreciate that. American History X is a powerful and unflinching exploration of hate, redemption, and the cyclical nature of violence. At the center is Derek Vinyard, a once charismatic neo-Nazi leader whose life is radically altered after serving time in prison for a racially motivated crime. Behind bars, Derek confronts the brutal realities of his ideology and begins to unravel the beliefs that once fueled his rage. His transformation is painful and profound, revealing the psychological roots of extremism and the personal cost of blind hatred. Upon his release, Derek returns home to find his younger brother Danny following in his former footsteps, indoctrinated by the same toxic ideologies. Determined to save Danny from repeating these mistakes, Derek shares his painful journey, hoping to break the grip of hatred before it's too late. The film unfolds as a haunting narrative told through flashbacks and present-day reflections, blending brutal honesty with moments of unexpected tenderness. American History X stands as a stark and unforgettable warning about the destructive power of racism and the fragile hope for redemption through empathy and truth.
Yo, that first of all, man, salute to you. That's a fantastic summary of this film, man.
Appreciate
That's
it.
fantastic. All of them are good, but that was oh, it's.
You know what it is? It takes me a while, today, to send it to you, because I'm probably my worst critic. I go over stuff a lot, and I'm like, nah, it's not good enough. This could be better. I could say this in less words, but I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, no, that was dope, man. So, as you were saying, man, 1998 American History X drops. Made on a budget of $20 million, only made $23 million. So barely broke even.
Yeah.
Later on, I'm gonna have a question for you about what the movie looks like when it comes out. Written by David McKenna, based on a story of his life growing up in San Diego, and directed by Tony Kaye, who actually did not like the version of the film that was ultimately released.
Yeah, I read that.
So he had 40 minutes of film that was added to the film was not in his original cut. Apparently, New Line Cinema and Edward Norton worked together to add some things, which I think who knows what those scenes were, but I think in the end all be all, I think we can both agree this is a fantastic film, probably one of the most important films for people to read and check out.
Yeah, man. I would argue that if it's not already, because I didn't peep anything, it should be in the Library of Congress. You know how they put things in the archives or whatever. This should be one of the movies up there. I was thinking if aliens were to beam down and one of the movies that I would show them, this would be one of the movies.
And then after that, what they wanted, would they exterminate the whole human race after watching?
I mean,
this?
they're bound to find out anything anyway, even if they're not checking out like through satellite and Wi-Fi and everything like that. Like they bound to know. So I think if we present them with the honesty, they'll be like, okay, I respect their honesty and integrity.
Right. And then they say, get the guns, get the
lasers.
Get the lasers out because these people are ill, man. So yeah, man. So this movie, I think this is the first time we've done a film where Edward Norton was the main
lead
actor, man. Yeah. And man, watching this film, I just was reminded of the incredible actor that Edward Norton really is, man, and the range that he has. When I was thinking about it, I was like, man, some of my favorites by this man include Primal Fear, The 25th Hour, Fight Club. Of course, one day we got to get to Fight Club one day for sure.
You got that, but also that's on my list, man. Actually,
yeah, we got to get to that, and then also Birdman, which is a little bit of a weird movie, but I dug it and I dug his role in it. And then, as people who've seen Kingdom of Heaven,
that's on my list.
He plays the king with the mask on, but he drops bars the whole film.
Yeah, nah. First of all, shout out to Edward Norton. I still feel he was robbed by Marvel. I think.
Wait, don't. I'm coming to you with that. I got a question for you about that.
But I definitely love him in this movie because not only is everything that he does on the screen so captivating, but it's a uniqueness. Like at this point, up until '98, I had never seen a young, enthusiastic, slick talking white person move individuals in a certain way that would mirror what I saw in Malcolm X. Like, you know what I mean? Like someone who's just able to snap his fingers and point in the direction type joint. Like when he's sitting there and he's like rabble rousing and getting all these guys in order and everything.
Oh, you're talking about the Derek Vinyard character and outside. Yeah.
Like just to be able to be a leader, just to be able to delegate and to be this unstoppable force. Like man, it's difficult because I don't want to sound like I admire the character without like it's the actor I'm talking about.
Talk about the actor then.
Yeah. So it's the actor, his ability to be diverse, the ability to embody these individuals that he's portraying. So like when you mentioned in Kingdom from Heaven, when he I mean, like the dude is suffering from a life-threatening,
leprosy.
Fatal. Leprosy, you know what I mean? And at that time, you know, there was no cure for it. You know what I mean? So like here he is able to, you know, be this inspirational vehicle because these guys love him like to the point where they would sacrifice themselves for his cause. And able, like you said, to drop bars, dope. Him in Primal Fear, like,
oh man, playing the two well, allegedly the two people with the schizophrenia, but not really.
Whatever.
Brilliant actor.
The ability, because we've seen countless actors try to pull off duality and not do it so successfully, and I'm being diplomatic. It's dope, man. Like he's very, very diverse, man.
Yeah,
very diverse.
Yeah, really. And you know, when you're talking about the Derek Vinyard character in this film, if he wasn't as charismatic as he was, you would not believe
of course not.
The reputation that's attached to him. Yeah. So like in that scene when Avery Brooks' character is saying he wasn't a skinhead, he's the skinhead, like that's like he embodies that, you know, like everything, all those flashback scenes of him in with the black and white things, like playing basketball and everything. You can see how other people would follow him.
Yeah, gravitate towards him.
Compelling he is. And that's so much of why Cameron uses him to really build that whole DLC organization.
Yeah, shout out to Stacy Keach. I would just remember him from being the detective Mike Hammer on CBS.
Right. How about that? Mickey Spillane's Mike Hammer. right. I remember.
But when I seen him in this, I was just like, wait, that can't be the guy. I like that guy. I don't like this guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, like the way that he is able to be a weasel and a snake and then really embed himself and get these kids to do his work. And it's kids. He's manipulating them, but the way he's really able to like present that on the screen, also a great depiction, also a great actor who I don't think gets his just due. So I want to definitely give him credit for that. And the cast itself, man, is really, really good in this.
Yeah.
Um, I don't want to be remiss by not mentioning Avery Brooks, a man called Hawk,
Yo,
like yo,
that was
and
my
Captain
show, man.
Cisco
That was
from
my show. A man called
DS9.
Hawk.
Yo, I mean, like he's a thespian, man. Like,
Yes, right. And you can tell by how he says
mhm.
words in his lines, right?
This dude, his first of all, the tone in his voice, like the bass and the
Everything.
octave,
Yeah.
like yo, I
Yeah.
wanted a voice like his. Like I
Yeah.
mean, like this dude, he gets busy. He drops bars. He's respectable, and it's one of the few unfortunate actors, excuse me, characters in movies where he has a PhD, multiple, as Derek announces at the dinner table when his father was still alive. He's one of the individuals who has the gravitas to actually pull this off, where you can say, like, no, he knows what he's talking about. It's believable.
Hmm.
He's able to sustain this character throughout the movie, even though he's only in a handful of scenes.
Right.
It's not like he's in the movie continuously, but when he's
Hmm.
there, like, he's there. And
Yeah.
even the scenes where it's him and Derek going back and forth, like Dr. Sweeney is like, yo, I see something in you. So it shows humility, but at the same time, he's still able to give this like fatherly advice, surrogate, albeit, but this advice where he's tutoring him, mentoring him, and still teaching him, even though he's no longer in the classroom.
Yeah. That's a great segue into one of the things that I think is really interesting about this film that I probably missed in earlier viewings, which is just how much Derek and Danny really needed a father figure. Like
Yeah.
their father gets killed by some alleged gangbangers while he was putting out a fire.
Mhm.
And then they're both sort of searching for that, right?
Even that
And
is dope, though. His father dies while putting out a fire, even though he's the reason why the fire they have now that they're dealing with. He's the reason for it, and
yeah,
he's a firefighter.
that's
Like, oh,
that's Shakespearean there.
I mean,
I wasn't at DC. Yeah, I could tell you had a nice week, man, because you coming back like somebody that was on the beach reading Canterbury Tales or something like that, man. But back here on Earth, right? back here in the hood, right? I like Sweeney's character, like Sweeney believes in Derek and he believes in Danny,
yeah.
and he really sees like their potential, right? And really their potential for good because
Mhm.
Cameron doesn't. Cameron sees them as potential to exploit them, and
Yes.
even the other adults, even like Derek's friend, the big fat dude, he's
Seth.
like
Yeah.
Seth. Yeah, Seth is just a pariah, like a pariah also, and it's just really interesting because like the when I watch it more, I really see how much Derek and Danny's behavior is attached to not only what their father taught them, which we
Mhm.
learn in the end,
Yeah.
but also the absence of their father to help guide them into real manhood.
Yo, and let me just go back in reverse order. Shout out to the actor Ethan Suplee. He lost a lot of weight, man. Like he was a very rotund individual, obese,
Very
but
rotund.
he got his health in order. So shout out to him. Um, Kudos to the writer and author, excuse me, the screenplay writer and the director for actually showing what was the actual source, the genesis of all of this.
Mm-hmm.
That dinner
Mm-hmm.
table scene where the father is actually talking about, like why things are the way they are and why this whole thing got set in motion. I know it's been beaten to death, but when people talk about like racism starts at home, discrimination starts at home, like this actually is what they're talking about. What
Absolutely.
individuals are having the dinner table meetings, eating as a family, being together,
Yeah.
communing as one, which is very essential. Don't get me wrong, I'm definitely a proponent of that. um, but it's what's discussed and how it's discussed and
Mm-hmm.
who's presenting the material.
Yeah.
Derek is very enthusiastic about this new teacher at the time who later becomes the principal, Dr. Sweeney. And he's like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know why he's at our school. So, he's really like just fully on board with whatever Dr. Sweeney has to present. And then here's his father, another man that he idolizes, who is in the opposite direction and who's opposed to what he's talking about and presenting misinformation,
Mm-hmm.
which is very, very dangerous in the wrong hands. Because now he's manipulating the influence he has on his son and providing him with the wrong material in which to do that. Um, where he talks
Yeah.
about that it's just garbage. It's not real.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's essentially what all hatred is. Hatred
Mm-hmm.
is ignorance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's ignorance that you have to perpetuate through an ongoing narrative of
Yeah.
subject of one group being supreme to another group, right? And the dad does that, and it's like that. That's I agree with you. It's great that they get to that point
Mm-hmm.
because it explains to you that like Derek didn't just get how he was because of
Yeah.
his exposure to Cameron. It actually started at home, and like it goes back to that thing that they say, nobody starts off racist. You got to
Right.
learn racism,
Yeah.
right? Or they say, like I think the commercials actually you have to learn hatred.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
they really say. You got to learn to hate people, and it's true because children don't start off like that, but then the system that we live in, the world, it creates that kind of person in and out all the time.
Yeah, like that. I forget who ran the study where they used the two dolls, and one
Mm-hmm.
is black and one's
Yep.
white, and they talk about all the negatives, and then
Yeah.
you go in the dictionary and you can find all these positive attributes to the word white, and all these
Mm-hmm.
negative connotations to the word black. Like you said, man, it's just these are things that are taught. These are not
Yeah.
things that you're brought into the world. You're pretty much a blank slate. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like there's certain things that I believe are essential. Love, nurturing. Like there was another study in which they held a baby close, et cetera, et cetera. And that affinity was great. But when the mother ignores the child,
Mm-hmm.
the child starts crying and everything like that, just being neglected. This is furtherance of that, where you have these characters, and surprisingly, Davina, the eldest
The
daughter,
oldest, the oldest sister, right? Yeah.
yeah, who's able to still fight back even though she's not physically imposing. She continues to stand firm and strong in her beliefs.
Yeah.
You know, the scene. Another powerful scene is with Elliot Gould. Shout out to him, where he's invited to dinner, and they're discussing the Rodney King trial, and
Mm-hmm.
in it, you really see these polarizing viewpoints. But the
Mm-hmm.
way that they're presented, one who's totally wrong is loud and obnoxious. The other one is a little bit more subdued and more about inquiring. And then when it's time to push back, they do so in a firm but yet unyielding position.
Yeah.
I think that crystallizes another point that the author, excuse me, the screenplay writer and director are trying to get home.
Yeah, I like the Davina character being in that family is really interesting because there's always going to be like that black sheep
Mm,
because like the Vineyards are like a racist family, right? And but Davina is not. Like she's actually the one pushing against that.
hmm
And it's also I also really noticed that while Davina takes that position, the mom really doesn't. The mom is not, it's not that she reinforces everything that the dad is saying, but she
No,
never questions it.
she's
And she
weak.
never questions anything that Derek says or anything that Danny says. She's just kind of going along to get along. So by doing that, by not, it's almost like that lesson of they say, well, um, if you don't stop something, you're complicit in it. And in a way, that's where the mom character is, played by Beverly D'Angelo.
D'Angelo, great actress.
She by not ever challenging what Danny and Derek are saying, it's almost like she co-signs on it, and it really makes it harder for Davina because then Davina, like you said, has the courage to really stand against them. But then you see how really Derek goes off in that scene and like tries to choke her out with some beef, and then that's that. How that goes. Right. That sounds worse when you say it that way, right? And that's right. Right.
I I would just offer a slight pushback. I think the mother, I think the mom, I think Doris is timid. I think that she's frail, and in her fragility, it may appear that she is going along to get along, but I think it's because she doesn't know how to. And what I mean by that is, um, the father was strong-willed, but yet she said they don't. What's my man's name? Um, Oh, she said they don't teach Tom Clancy in school. So
Yeah.
it was like a,
Hmm.
a pushback at him in her own way. And then she says, very, very emphatically, I am ashamed that you came out of my body to
Yep.
Derek. So I don't, I wouldn't,
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah,
I
that's a
would,
good point.
I would
That's a good point.
only offer,
Yes,
yes,
that's a good point.
she does seem to go along to get along, to certain aspects, but when push came to shove, she did make a declarative statement like, yo, this cannot go down.
Hmm.
Indirectly, by her dating Elliot Gould's um, character, it showed that she was open minded, if you will, because he was Jewish and Derek is a known neo Nazi.
Right. Which why would you bring him to your house?
Yeah, which is crazy in itself. Yeah,
Why would you bring like your son literally has a swastika on his chest? What are
which
you
is
doing?
crazy.
Why
And
you didn't know? Like you couldn't see what?
how that would end.
Yeah, I mean, like, and I agree with you. I do think the mom is condemning of their behavior, but it's almost like um it's almost like a very liberal critique
Mm,
of what you did,
hmm.
not the way that you did it, not what you were actually doing.
Yeah.
If Derek, I think if Derek sits at the table and he's willing to debate the professor in like this intellectual thing, and it doesn't turn physical, and he doesn't choke Davine out, she probably doesn't say all that.
Oh, of course
She's
not.
she's willing to tolerate
Yeah.
his racism as long as it's polite.
Yeah.
But once it stops being
Yeah.
polite,
Once
then she has an issue with it.
yeah, once he started going back and forth with Murray, she was like, Murray, maybe we could still, and even then he still remains a gentleman by trying to shake her hand by saying goodbye. Yo, that's some old school stuff, man. Because
Right. Yeah,
like,
he's a gentleman. He's a gentleman through and through, man.
yeah, like that
Yeah,
wouldn't
he
have
is.
gone down
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
2025.
And to keep it a buck, like, yo, Murray, that's the woman you want to date? Like her son, like, well, both her at least you know one of her oldest son is a skinhead, man. Like, what did you think was gonna happen? Or maybe you know what? Let me rewind that. Maybe he did not know where Derek was at by that time. So
No, yeah, I believe because he
yeah,
says
maybe did.
he's gone. So I don't
Yeah,
think
yeah,
that he
yeah,
was
yeah,
fully.
yeah, yeah,
I don't think he was fully on board with the whole like he's a lost cause thing.
yeah.
Which also goes to the point of you mentioning Avery Brooks before, his character Dr. Sweeney. I
Mm-hmm.
think Robert Sweeney is just that. He's a sweet guy who
Sweet Sweeney.
it, meaning like more like a gentle man who
Okay.
tries to see the best in individuals and is not willing to give up hope. And I think that optimism that is symbolized by a candle. It may be as radiant as the sun, or it can be as flickering as a candle, but the light still shines, and that the hope is eternal. And I
You're
think
real poetic right now, man. You're being real poetic. Like goodness gracious, man. Like back in the hood though. Let me just because you still doing that beach talk. But all right, yo. So here's the thing. So Sweeney, I really like this movie. Right, I really like this movie, and of course, when we get to the ratings,
yeah.
that's gonna come out. But as I've gotten like old, like this is the oldest I've been now, having watched the film.
Hmm.
And when I watch it now, the Sweeney character has some kind of magical Negro vibes to him.
Mm.
Like and for those who you might not know, like the magical Negro vibe is like this idea that sometimes in film you'll see a black character who their job is to kind of help the white character to evolve and to become better in some way, but they stay pretty much in the same place.
Hmm.
So it's like good examples like The Legend of Bagger Vance or The
Mm.
Green Mile, right? And the term for it that goes along with it is like black facilitation of white development, right? And
Mm.
I think we've covered some other movies where we've
Yeah.
seen that. Like I get Sweeney thinks both Derek and Danny are really smart, and I get that, and I understand that. But I think some of the things that both Derek and Danny have done in the film makes it a little harder for me to buy into like Sweeney's allegiance to them. Like
Is that
if
because you're older now, or is that because of current events? Like, why is that, man?
I think age has a lot to do with it,
Mm.
because I do think when I watched the movie years ago for the first time, I didn't even really think about like why Sweeney was doing what he was doing, because I think like you said, the idea of the teacher who never gives up on the student is
Mm-hmm.
like a movie trope that we're
Yeah,
we're
the
used
Sidney
to. Like,
Poitier, man.
right, right.
Yeah.
Right. We believe in that. Like, the Dangerous Minds, Gangster's Paradise, that
Hmm.
joint. We believe that. Like
Yeah.
the teachers will never give up on certain kids, but Derek and Danny aren't like, kids that are cutting school. Like
Mm.
Derek killed somebody. Derek killed like two people,
No,
and
yeah, I
when
was,
one of them that was murder. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that's different. And then you got Danny writing papers about Adolf Hitler as a civil rights hero, like that's different, dog. Like I don't know. Sweeney's got a big heart, man, but I couldn't sign on with that at this age. At this age, of the person I am now, I don't understand why he's so invested. Like, I get it, but like, why? Why is he so care so much about this family?
I think he talks about it when he's in the prison with Derek, and he says like, "Yo, I was you. I was in this moment, and I think he means like, yo, he was maybe in some juvenile facility as well as
Mm-hmm.
in the moment of contemplation and internalizing and mulling like, hey, if this goes to fruition, this is where I'll end up, dead or in jail, or I
Yeah.
have family members. You know the cliche, you're either dead or in jail. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that he had the ability, the foresight to see that, like, hey, I can't, I can't, I can't spend my entire lifetime living the lifetimes of other individuals. I have to learn from their mistakes. And I think he tried to impart that wisdom onto Derek and to Danny because he knew that within them lies something more than what is just presented on the screen.
Yeah. I think when he asked Derek the question, like what all the things, how has what you've done made your
And
life better?
that was the accumulation of it
I
all.
thought I thought that was a great scene. And
Yeah.
that's I definitely get that. I think that maybe for me personally, the the racial charge of what Derek has done makes it hard for me to bridge that gap.
Mm.
So I'm gonna own that, like I'm bringing me CJ into this thing in a way that makes it harder for me to see it that way. But I can understand like the way that they're positioning the character of Sweeney. I can understand how Sweeney gets there. It's just hard for me to get there.
You know what? And this actually reminds me of some of our pre-production meetings, but definitely the one we just had today. And I'm gonna offer the same to you. I can understand why you feel the way you do about the movie, where an overt act was committed, so therefore it takes an equal overt action by the main star protagonist of the film. Um,
Mm-hmm.
CJ, for obviously, CJ had presented a very arousing article. I mean, an
Yeah,
argument rather.
we'll get to that. We'll get to it. We'll get
That's what I'm
we'll get to
saying for the audience, just so
yeah,
you're
we'll get to it.
not aware of what I'm speaking about. It's about CJ's argument, and I personally feel the need to do that is to acknowledge, you know what, you were right on that accord. Like maybe for me, it was not necessary, but for the audience, perhaps it was necessary.
Yeah, and we'll get to that in the hate because it's one of the things
Yeah.
that came up there for me. The other thing is, you know, a lot has been made in America about the idea of what's happening when men don't have options,
Hmm.
when men don't have jobs, when men don't have access to women. Although that's not actually Derek's problem. It's actually not Danny's problem either. They actually seem to be good on that part.
Yeah.
But but like, and actually Derek has a job somehow, which is also kind of weird to me.
Crazy to me.
Even at the end when he's like, "Yeah, I think I'm
That's
gonna
a,
go get my job back," I was like, "Dog, what job are you gonna get back? You committed murder, dog. You killed two people, like
forget that he committed a racially motivated murder.
a hate crime, right? Like,
Yeah.
but anyway, but it's like, but I say all that, all jokes aside, in America and in the world, actually, there is a great and I think legitimate concern about what happens when young men grow up and are not only not directed but misdirected. And like you
Yes.
said before, the misinformation about who you are, how you're fitting into society, who your enemy is, who is taking a job from you, or who's
Supposedly.
take so all those things, they foment this hatred that is ultimately destructive to everything and everyone else around us. And the movie kind of gets into that, and I like that part too because that's real. Like so much of what happens in this film, that's happening right now in
Hmm.
2025. Derek's conversation when he's out there with the other skinheads and he's talking about immigration
And the
and
numbers that
border
he's
jumpers
using
and
to
all those,
twist. Yeah.
dog, that's on television every day in America. Like, but now it's not even being said in the dark. It's on the news. So that's a scary world.
Not only is it scary, but it's enlightening because we weren't privy to these discussions before. And if you were naive to believe that these things didn't exist, well, now it's like that awakening where, hey, this is the real world. This is the red pill or the blue pill now. You either choose to accept what's being presented to you as authenticity, or you can continue to keep a blind eye to this. Now, I don't know how you can do that, but you choose to be negligent in being aware of what's going on. I think that all of the characters are necessary vehicles to present the different sides of the argument as to what the
I
future
agree with
of this
that.
country, or what in that particular timeline in 1998, what was actually the present day ongoings of the country. Um,
Yeah.
Derek speaks very loud to these individuals who are susceptible to hearing this message. So it doesn't sound like he's yelling. And usually when you're yelling at someone, they can't hear you. They may be listening, but they can't hear what you're saying. But he has their attention, and he's channeling that frustration and that anger. And that's really what's at the heart of this. The frustration, the anger, which leads to the bitterness and resentment that these individuals have because they're not challenging this energy in a very positive and constructive means.
Yeah.
If you want jobs, for example, for a certain demographic, rather than destroying the jobs of somebody else and repeating the cycle of them supposedly stealing your job, just create another job then. Be the change that they're talking about, which is what Sweeney was advocating. He
Yeah.
said, hey, I need to know that what I was doing was making a difference. I'm paraphrasing. But what he
Yeah, I
did
got you.
say, what he did say though was, hey, and rather than complaining about it, I needed to do something that was going to stop the nonsense. So
Yeah.
I chose to go in this avenue. Derek should have been teaching these guys a trade, or teaching these guys how to learn coding or whatever it was, trade funds. I don't care.
Yeah. But they're
Just
all manipulated
yeah,
by the same rhetoric that blames your situation on somebody else.
yeah, and that's
And it
accountability or lack
and makes
thereof.
somebody else is the other. It's their fault.
Mm-hmm.
It's this phantom specter of whatever that's coming into your communities. Maybe that's immigration. Maybe that's hip hop music. Maybe that's the
Yeah,
gang
when he said
element.
that, I
All
love it
those
how that
things.
was the scapegoat. Hip hop music was one
Yeah,
of the
nah,
scapegoats.
that's what they put in there. Yeah,
Bring us, you're tired, your masses yearning to breathe free. You're
yeah,
tired, you're poor. Like when he mentions the Statue of Liberty, I'm sitting there and I'm like, dude, here's another country, France, giving you a token of
yeah,
their affiliation with this country through their revolution, being inspired later on by a revolution of their own. And yet what you got out of that was, yo, somebody's taking my job, somebody's taking
yeah.
my home or my business or whatever it is.
It's designed to blame somebody else
Yeah, that's
all the time,
interesting.
man. But anyways, all right. So let's get into the cake, man.
Yeah.
A couple things that I'm gonna run down. We talked about some of this, so I like the way. I mean, I think you can appreciate what Edward Norton is doing with the character of Derek Vinyard without liking Derek Vinyard. So I
Yeah.
agree with that. He's like that speech that he gives, everything that he's saying right in front of the store before they go
Yeah.
in and break into it. That's like I said. That's what I hear and watch on TV and the internet all the time. And the fact that that is scary, but the way that he says it is compelling. It's an incredible scene. And the fact that it's in black and white just adds to
Mm-hmm.
some of the terror of it. Just a great scene. You talked about the dinner scene with the professor and with Maury and that argument. Another awesome scene as well. The drug trade in jail. So the reason why I like the drug trade is because the drug trade is like when Derek realizes that, yo, I think it was black against white, but then somehow that gets negated when green is involved, right? So when deals come, and it's like that's the part where he really starts to see there's something else happening here, and I just like that inclusion in it. Um, and the last thing I'm gonna say is I like the scene when Derek is leaving and he's got to talk to Lamont on the way out,
Yeah.
and I like that Lamont doesn't ever acknowledge that he helped him.
Mm-hmm.
I like that he never says it because if he would have been like, yeah, I looked you out, man, because I think you're a good guy and all that, like that would have taken away from it. And I thought that scene, I thought that was a really good scene, and I like how it was written. And Guy Tori, I like what he did with
Mm-hmm.
that, with his couple scenes with Derek. Like I could see how he could start to chip away at that steely veneer that Derek has the whole movie. I just like those scenes. That's my kick.
You want to talk about poetic? Steely veneer?
I know I'm
Who
trying to keep
says
up
that?
with you,
Who
man.
says that? Huh?
I'm trying to keep up with you, man. I went to school too. I read books also, bro.
Oh, I'm gonna go in reverse order. The last thing you mentioned was Lamont. I love Guy Tori in that, where he's still himself as a comedian, but he's showing some acting chops
Mhm.
by in that particular environment, where he can get very candid and said, "No, man, I'm in prison for 6 years because I dropped a television on a
Yeah.
police officer." And that same rhetoric you were spitting at the dining room table, that, oh, he must have turned off, the camera was turned off, so he turned
Mhm.
around and hit the officer or whatever, and then it flipped back on, you only show up. Nah, man. We were put in jail under a false means, and the system is punishing me because I'm black and I got an unfair sentence because of it.
Mhm.
And it's dope that Lamont didn't take credit for that, not because it allows him to be seen more in a benevolent means, but because it stays true to the origins of his name. It's a Scottish Old Norse origin meaning lawman, derived from the
Hmm.
medieval personal lagman. So here's a guy who's really providing true law and order and justice within the confines of a corrupt system. So I think that was dope. Um, like CJ, I like the cast. I
Mhm.
love the visuals with the contrast between the black and the white, and
Yeah, I
how
like it. Really strong.
they're
Mhm.
using the light to like have these shadows cast upon individuals, especially when they're saying things that the director really wants you to hone in on, or he
Mhm.
really wants to evoke a certain emotion. Um, those scenes, they stand out more so. But last but not least, aside from the cast, as I try to do every now and then, I sprinkle in a little bit about the names. So, for example, Daniel, which everyone knows is a biblical name, but the first part, the prefix of it, Dan, means judge, and in Hebrew, and El means God. So here's a
Mhm.
guy who is being judged, or God is my judge.
Mhm.
So I thought that was powerful, and obviously the prophet, Doris, the mom. Actually, that's Greek, and it originates from the mythology of the sea nymph Doris, and therefore it's interpreted to mean a Vidorian tribe, a gift, or a gift of the ocean, which
Okay.
is kind of ironic because women giving birth being the fertile ground upon which life is given. Which also goes to their last name. I'll get to that in a minute. But Davina, we talked about, that's also Scottish and Hebrew. So again, the mom dating a Jewish guy. Now her daughter,
Mm.
her name is Jewish and also of a Scottish origin, meaning beloved and favorite. It's the feminine form of David, also a biblical name. So you can see the roots of it all being biblical. And being used as a affection, or to convey affection or endearment. And then I'll get to the last name, of course, Vineyard, meaning it's a mispronounced and misspelled name of the word vineyard. This is
Mm.
also biblical because this is about God and the covenant embodied in Israel and the Hebrew people. Man, there's so much significance. You're talking about abundance, rebirth, hope, stewardship, labor, stability. It's a metaphor for the soul, representation of community. And then last but not least, Derek. Derek is a German name. Excuse me. And his name,
That
uh,
fits. That is a German name.
it
That fits.
originates from the name of Diederik, which also is more of about power and influence. Um, Man, the usage of the names in this reflect the characters very well, as far as their stance and their proclivity to do or commit certain actions.
Got it.
So just wanted to drop that out there.
Appreciate that.
No
Appreciate
doubt.
that as always. I like the breakdowns, and the part about Daniel being the judge is, I think, very appropriate because he's really the one that gives you the insight into what the dad was like.
Yeah.
Like he's really in the ability. He's really in the position is to really tell you. He actually provides a lot of the background information, like why didn't Derek get more years? It's because Danny didn't testify.
Yeah.
Like yeah, people think that Derek got that stuff from Cameron, but it actually came from my dad. Like he's really kind of judging and kind of showing everything. So that's a neat point there.
Yeah, and just like with Derek, he is supposedly of the people. So his position, once his father is gone, is now as ruler. So Derek is
Mhm.
like about power and being a ruler. So it's
Yeah.
funny how he comes in takes the place of his father, but still is lacking in all of the critical things in order to judge wisely, lead
Yeah.
in a very profound but just way.
Yeah.
It, like I said,
Yeah.
man, everything is
Well,
intentionally dope.
throughout the film, Derek shows you over and over again that he lacks real impulse control,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Like he flips out on Davina
Hmm.
at the dinner table scene, right? He curb stomps the dude, right? That was crazy. And then when he gets out, he stomps out Cameron. Then he never thinks about what's gonna happen after I do this, right? And then it's like you can see him, he's always like shocked about what he just did, except for when he curb stomped the dude, which I'm gonna get to in a second. But it's like he just that nuance of his character and the consistency of it throughout the whole film is one of the things I think Edward Norton does a great job of bringing to the thing. So
No, I
yeah, thank you for
definitely
bringing that.
agree. Him not seeing to fruition where this could go
Yeah,
after he does
second
these
order
things.
thinking, like
Yeah,
what happens if I do this, like
yeah,
not thinking about that. Yeah.
definitely.
So all right, hate part. I got a couple things. We talked about it. The scene where Derek kills the black guy is one of the most horrendous things I've ever seen in films. It's up there with like stuff you see in like slavery pictures in terms of the brutalization of it. It's a really hard scene to watch, and I do appreciate the fact that it's there because it shows you how violent Derek actually is and dangerous Derek actually is. So if you didn't have that scene, you wouldn't have that. And at the same time, it also kind of ties into my next thing, which is a little bit of what my issue was, and it's something that you alluded to earlier. Is that now that I take a step back and I've watching this movie now at this age, I never really felt like Derek fully fully I apologize is not the right word, but fully transitioned from the ideology that let him do those things that he did. And I say that because, yeah, I know like the scene of what happens to him in jail with the other Aryan brothers, like that makes him not want to be with them. And he tells Cameron, Cameron, I know you rolled over on dudes. You're not really about this life, essentially. But at the core of it, Derek believes this stuff that he was talking about. He's his quarrel with the Aryans is that they're not actually true to the game as much as he is. I feel like he needed to, in some way, say that he was wrong for the things that he did, wrong for the things that he said to someone, even if he only admitted it to Danny. I feel like that would have really closed the loop on the level of violence that he did through this film, the way that he led those people to attack the people in the store, and then the way that of course he killed those two dudes, man. So I just feel like that was kind of missing in the film. And then Danny's transformation felt a little bit too quick for me. He was kind of like, all right, well, if you're not racist no more, I'm not racist no more. Let's go take all my Nazi stuff off the wall. Now we good. Now tomorrow I can go be friends with the black people school again. No, dog, that's not how that works. Like, no. No, that's not how like you like nah, that's if it could be taken off and put on that quickly like a uniform, then it wasn't really with you to begin with. And if that's the case, you probably would have never been there to start with. So I just feel like that was a little trite there. And then at the end, I don't like that Danny got killed, man. I don't like Danny's
You
murder.
sound like me.
I don't like Danny's murder. Yeah, no, but yeah, I do. I don't like Danny's murder, and I also don't think that the movie did a great job of setting up the reason for why the black kid would kill him. Like, and I know we talked about this before, but it's like I think that when you're dealing with these issues of like race and racism and violence and this kind of black on white and white on black crime, because of how distorted America is around this, you kind of got. I think you do have to kind of explain a little bit more behind it, because otherwise, it just looks like this black kid, is a part of a gang, and he's like, I don't like this white boy, so he shot and killed him. And then the movie just kind of ends with Derek, and it's like, so now what? Like Derek is sitting there with his dad and his brother having been killed by black people, and now what's Derek going to do? So just like kind of the way that landed. Those were some of the things I didn't really like about
um, I don't know if this is a self admission or not, but I was sitting there and I was like, yo, this guy is shooting a lot of bullets for a handgun. You know what I mean? So I was like, I don't know if this is realistic, and if we're to believe that this character exists in the real world or someone like him,
Mm-hmm.
um, like the what is it? The Hunter. It's this racial negative book that's supposed to be hyping neo Nazis and KKK members up. Hunter something or whatever, and the guy who wrote it, he's now long dead. But um, if we're to believe like that book and that author is kind of like the inspiration behind this character and the neo-Nazi movement, then
Mm-hmm.
certain things like the number of bullets in a chamber of a gun should have some authentic reality based centricism in it. Well, come to find out, the Ruger, what is it, 9mm model S&W, that joint carries 15 and one in the chamber. So yeah, him
Mm-hmm.
licking off all them shots, that was very realistic. Him and the garb that they were wearing and the
Yeah, that was
tattoos
legit.
and stuff. So I don't know, like at first I was like, this just seems like some made up stuff, and that was going to be part of my hate or dislike about this movie,
Okay.
because you want to ground it into some type of reality. If we're to believe that all of this is a rooted problem here in the United States, well, come to find out, that there is a lot of authenticity to this. So then that made me switch gears. So I don't like the death scene of Danny, but
Yeah.
not because of it leaving so many loose ends, if you will, because I don't think it did. I think what it did was allow for there to be a sequel, which I think that was the reason why they were looking at maybe potentially leaving it so open ended so that you could question, well, what's going to happen next? Where do we pick up again? And then also like creative licensing. But for me, it didn't land because one, here's the compelling witness to all of this, and now he is facing the sins of the father and not the eldest son. Or is this a question of the poisonous tree and then fruit bearing from it? So that left too many questions for me in my head that were unresolved at the conclusion of the movie. The next thing that I had a problem with, and it wasn't even, I can't even say it was a problem, maybe a minor critique, if you will, and that was, I'm just not comfortable with the whole, like, are we allowed to say the R word? Oh,
The
the
prison rape
sexual,
scene?
yeah,
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, you always act
molestation.
like you can't say the word rape. Like, yeah,
Oh, I'm just
say it.
saying,
Yes, you can say
you
the
know
word.
how
Yes, yeah, you
YouTube
can
does
say it.
certain things with certain
Yeah, I
words.
mean, we're talking about neo-Nazism. Like, yeah, like you just say the word.
Well, I wasn't comfortable with that, and the
I
reason
got
why
you. I got you.
is
No, I
because it's
understand. I
got
understand that.
the graphic nature in which they're trying to perpetuate this thing about power, and these individuals are very impotent. Which again, here you see the ironic part of all this, where this guy is supposed to be a virile or the epitome of what a Nordic
Mm-hmm.
is supposed to represent, but yet he's in strict violation because they don't believe in homosexuality supposedly, and they don't adhere to of violating any of those who appear to be on their program, especially if
Mm-hmm.
they're not the ones enforcing the program. So it just
Right.
seems like their whole infrastructure wasn't consistent. Now I don't know.
Yeah,
I
of course.
obviously
Yeah.
that was intentional, et cetera, et cetera. But if we're to believe that this is the movement in which they're now being directed in, all these inconsistencies should lead to the conclusion of this is all just utter garbage and nonsense. And why can't someone like Derek not see this for what it is? How could something like this happen to him if he is supposed to be, what did they call him? Yeah, the prince of
Mm-hmm.
their new movement. So it just didn't land with me.
Okay. Got you. Are you saying that? I mean, but isn't the point? Isn't the point of the what he experiences with the Aryan brothers in prison is that they are not actually true, quote unquote, true to the game.
Well,
Like, isn't
I
that
get
all of
I
that
get
is?
that that's part of the
We want,
reason why he's disillusioned by them, whatever have you.
yeah,
But if the whole goal is to show how like this guy's supposed to be this powerful influence, how is he now relegated to number two? How is it that he comes in, he's got street cred, credibility to him because he did what they supposedly are about.
yeah,
Two, he's about keeping it within homogeneous about their whole
mm-hmm,
people. And then three, he's supposed to be this charismatic guy who's supposed to, turn people over to his side. How is he not running stuff in the prison? How is it that, he's allowed these other two dudes who obviously, they're dumb and dumber. They should be adhering to what he's saying, and they're not.
Well, you know what? That's interesting because now you
Because if
bring
he's
up a
really about that, and he never changes his opinion and his mindset,
yeah.
how is he not the
Now,
one running the show?
yeah, but see, now you're bringing up another thing, which is where is Derek and the DOC actually in the hierarchy of the racist organizational structure,
Mm,
not only in the prison system, but also
yes,
just
abroad. Yeah,
in the whole thing in general, right?
yeah,
Because that's never really clarified as well. So
yeah.
that I think like I said, when you make films and they're very charged racially, and I think when it's racial, it's emotional, right?
Hmm, hmm.
I think you have to kind of think about, are you going to bother to connect the dots, or are you
Yeah,
going to even show the dots to begin with? Because all of those things become things that as you watch the movie over time, you're going to add that into it. I guarantee you probably didn't think about that in 1998
of
when you
course
watched
not.
it, but now you're like, wait a second, does that really make sense how that happened?
Yeah,
So like that's the better part of, like, time and seeing how these films age, right?
agreed.
So all right, so that's that. So I got a couple questions for you, man. Oh, about time. First one. Yo, so how do you think this movie would be received if it was released in America on October 17th of 2025?
I don't know if you could do this movie right now, only because of the widespread difference of opinions, and you could be hurt for having a difference of opinion, whether it be
Hmm.
financially, emotionally, spiritually, your job, whatever have you. Like you put this out, and now all of a sudden you're attached to whatever,
Hmm.
the list by them.
Oh, I
Um,
got you. I
you
see
know
what
what I
you're
mean?
saying.
So I don't know if you could make this movie, but if you do make this movie, I think the reception would be there would be a loud outcry from those who talk conservative, who vote Republican, who endorse certain activities being performed by ICE. Um, and then you would have those on the opposite spectrum saying it didn't go far enough to drive home the point that, this is
Mm,
wrong.
I got
So
you.
I don't think you could please anybody.
Yeah. Well, it looks like they didn't back in the day because they only made 3 million on the
I
joint
think this
overall.
movie was ahead of its time. I think that maybe 10 years further, this movie gets the critical acclaim that it should.
Well, I think critically, I've never talked to anybody who doesn't like the movie,
No,
but and doesn't think it's good or an important film to see. But I don't. I wonder if it would ever be a film that could make a lot of
as
money
far as
just based
commercial
on.
success,
Yeah.
oh no, never. Never.
Yeah. I don't
Yeah.
think it ever. Yeah, it probably does. It'll probably do good streaming numbers,
Yeah,
better
yeah.
streaming numbers than it does. Yeah,
Yeah,
I get you.
never. First
Okay.
of all, whenever you talk about any movie about race, they don't do you already know what you're signing up for.
Yeah. All right. Second question: should Derek have been the one to die instead of Danny?
I don't think either of them should have died, but if I'm
Okay.
forced to choose, um, I think it has to stay with Danny because it
Okay.
hits home. It makes it more personal. It leaves more questions because he's sitting there like, remember when they parted, he was like, "Yo, I think Cameron's after you, man. I think like, yo, because of what you did,
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna kill you." And remember when he meets with the chief of police and with um,
Sweeney.
Sweeney in the little barista fake, whatever, he's like, "Yo, these Cameron and Seth got are now in the hospital. There's going
They
to be
got snapped up.
retaliation. You need to go talk to your old crew." And he's like, "No, I can't do that." And he even says to them, like, the ironic part is, I'm going to get smoked by two white boys.
Yeah. Are you gonna get me shot by a
Yeah,
bunch of white kids? Yeah.
and that's going to be funny. We're going to have a laugh about that. I could see why some people would think it does, but for me, it just doesn't make sense. I
Okay.
mean, like, yo, dude goes through this traumatic process in prison. He tells his family, like, yo, Um, don't come check me out. It's hard enough to get
Mm-hmm.
through it as it is. I don't think that he could do it again, relive that entire process of going to jail again. That's just the jail part.
Yeah.
Then have to see the same people because he would, and to know that, yo, you're back here again.
Yeah. 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 That's yeah.
And then forget the shame and the guilt and actually getting caught again. Whatever he would have to do in order to go back to jail would serve no purpose. It wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
provide him with allies because let's say he becomes a skinhead again just to infiltrate and to get rid of those dudes for vengeance sake, right? Because they did him
Mm-hmm.
wrong. Black guys are going to look at him, the Mexican gangs or whatever ethnicity and culture, they're going to look at him like, oh, he ain't got nobody. That's fresh meat. We're going to get him. If he,
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah, and if he does it to, and if it's a reverse, if he genuinely and sincerely joins the group in order to get vengeance on the Crip members who killed him or whatever have you, he ain't gonna have another Lamont again. He's not gonna have, another ally in, say, Avery Brooks. Excuse me. Yeah, Avery Brooks' character, Doctor Sweeney. And nobody's gonna feel sorry for him or help him or do anything. They'll empathize, like, oh, his brother, but they'll be like, this is the reason why you don't do this. You
Yeah.
reap what you sow. Your brother died because of the dumb stuff you were doing. If you lived a normal, quiet, dumb life, none of this would have happened.
Hmm. So that's interesting. So the Danny's death, from your perspective, is the karma of what Derek
I wouldn't
did.
say karma because, karma is just supposed to be living throughout a life and then, doing whatever. It's just energy. This implies that there's something negative because you did something wrong. I would say that this is more about like his comeuppance.
Okay.
He literally put the gun in somebody's hand, so you can't be mad when they go and shoot somebody. You know what I mean? Like, that it's not people, excuse me, it's not guns that kill people, it's people that kill people. And they use the tools, a knife, a scissor, a brush, a gun to do it. So this just expedited the process. So whether it was the gang that ironically he had kicked off of the basketball court, and that's
Mm-hmm.
one of the outlets that people were using to channel their frustrations and anger and competitive rivalries, if you will, they just did it in the wrong way. Now that dude comes back. His brother was doing the very thing that he saw and learned and was taught by his dad and his older brother, both of whom he idolized. Can't help but think that. And they were under the guise that this was Cameron's people. So until the
Yeah.
information comes out, he's thinking, I did this. These are the guys,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, this could have been a white kid that did this. Then when he finds out it's a black kid that did it, he could still be like, yo, this guy was seeking revenge because of something I did.
Yeah. I appreciate that, man. I think the movie struggles to give, outside of Sweeney, any of the other black characters a real, like, three-dimensional kind of look
Oh,
to
of
them,
course.
because on the surface, the black guys that he beat in the basketball game were responsible for trying to rob him,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the black kid that killed his brother is connected to those same people again, right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
like, the movie, it's like I said, it's something I never really noticed the first time I watched it, but
Mm.
it doesn't really do a lot to explain the motivations of the black characters. So you view the black characters through however the white characters define them.
Mm.
They're gangbangers, or they're thieves, or it's just so one dimensional that it's like you never really know. And I get that. It's just one of the things that I just think about when I'm watching
I do think it's all in retaliation, though. They're going to steal his truck because he stole their basketball court or their
it. Yeah,
means by which to, you
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
illustrate or
yeah,
demonstrate their athletic prowess. So
yeah.
it's all
So
back and forth. It's all
yeah, so they're
stupid.
they're sore losers and criminals. That's shout outs to the black people. All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, on to the. All right, great writing. Okay, next
Right.
next thing. All right, this is way off the subject from everything else, but it's something that you referenced earlier, and I want to come back to it because I
Yeah,
wanted to
yeah,
get
yeah.
your perspective. Yo, who was the better Bruce Banner, Edward Norton or Mark Ruffalo?
Easy. Edward Norton.
Okay, why
Like,
do you say that?
that's not even a question for me. One, his range as a because this is the true essence of David Banner, right?
Mm-hmm.
Doctor Banner,
Dr. Bruce Banner, right?
Bruce. Yes, Bruce David Banner,
David Banner, yeah.
but the whole point is that this guy is inquisitive because he's a scientist. He's
Mm-hmm.
intelligent. He with Betty, so he must be charismatic. He must be able to finesse, be suave, debonair.
He's got Riz.
Yeah, what I mean.
He's got some Riz.
And at the same token, he is able to be a loner, a rebel, a survivor. Someone who's able to be a quick thinker on their feet, use practical means by which to function in society, stay under the radar.
Mm-hmm.
Channeling all this Zen like quality, and I think more so than Mark Ruffalo, I think that Edward Norton demonstrated that in just the one flick. You know what I mean? Like his facial expressions, just everything. Like I just think that he embodied him, and the impression he gave me was longer lasting than any of the movies. Now maybe it's the material, whatever, but and if that's the case, then shame on everyone for not doing what they did with Don Cheadle. You don't even remember what's his face. See, I don't
Right,
even
because
remember his name.
you just said what's his face?
Yeah, you don't even remember. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you remember Don Cheadle and War Machine.
Okay. All right. Well, there it is, man. That's my questions.
Yeah, yeah.
What's the questions you got for me?
All right. Let me get into question number one for you, sir. Where are we at? All right, here we go. What role does family influence play in shaping both Derek and Danny's beliefs, and how does this reflect broader societal patterns of learned prejudice?
Yeah, I think like we talked about this earlier in the show.
Mm-hmm.
The revelation that Danny and Derek's father was also providing a lot of the racist rhetoric that they grew up with before, they even got exposed to the DOC is really shows them shows like where those things start. And like you said earlier, hatred begins at home, man. Like you gotta learn hatred, and they both learn it from their dad. I think their family dynamic, which we also talked about, is one that for some reason it has now cultivated that continuously. You can see that the family in general is just a very political family. Like they're a political family, and they're a family that enjoys the debate of their political ideologies, which is good. But when it goes off track, the checks and balances aren't really in place enough to help them. And that's like a weakness of that family. And it would have been great to see once again like more of like kind of how Derek breaks out of that, like what's his intellectual process around that. But definitely they got that ideology from what they got at home.
That's really funny you should say that too. William Russ is the actor that played the dad, Dennis.
Mhm.
Um, and it's just he's not. What is he in it for? 2-3 minutes,
If that.
and it's just very interesting to say the least. How the little subtle like nides and snide looks and everything
Mhm.
that he
Yeah,
gives
he
to his
did
son.
it. He did it well. Yeah.
Yeah, in just that minute. So kudos to him in that joint. My next question is: how does American History X portray the cycle of violence and the intergenerational transmission of hate? What message is it sending about breaking that cycle?
Yeah, I mean, I think like we just talked about. I mean, you see the hate go from, the dad to Derek to Danny,
Mm-hmm.
and then you see their perpetual struggles with the black people in their community as a result of that, right? The dad has these feelings of the black guys that are working with me are not as qualified,
Which is
right?
crazy.
So that puts my life in danger. You get Derek, who then is like, well, these black guys, I don't want these black guys essentially in my neighborhood around my basketball court as a result of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get Danny, who's like caught up in the same thing too. And there's like just this outright sort of hatred that's just there, that's just going through the film. And like you said, you see it goes from generation to generation to generation, even within the black characters of the film. Even though I don't think they're really fleshed out that well, the black kid that Danny has a problem with is like the younger version of the black guy that Derek had a problem with. Like it's the same story kind of going
Mm-hmm.
over and over again. And in some ways, that's the story of like racism, right? It's the
Mm-hmm.
same perpetual thing, like saying new millennium, same story over and over and over again, same conflicts because people don't break out of their programming.
And that's crazy. You should say that too. Like the cyclical nature of it all. There
Mhm.
is no ending or beginning, and everything tends to mirror what transpired.
Yeah, until you're gonna break out of it.
Yeah.
Like there's the assumption that Sweeney spent a lot of time with Derek, right? Like
Mm.
even when he was in jail to kind of help him. Although
Mm.
you don't really see it, that
Yeah.
assumption is there. But I remember one of the things I was left with in the film is what were the books that Sweeney gave Derek?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like he obviously is trying to re-educate him in some other way, but
Mm.
what were the book? What would he give
Yeah.
him?
What did
What
he give
was
him?
I would have wanted to see that, even that, you know. So
Yeah, no, that would have been dope. That definitely would have been dope. In what ways does the film critique white supremacy without glorifying or sensationalizing it? Or does it do that?
yo, I'm gonna tell you, right? Because it's funny, when I was watching it, I was thinking, dang, if I were like racist, is there a way I could watch this film and it be like affirming for me,
Mm-hmm.
right? And ironically, I think that there is. I
Mm.
think that you can watch it, and because of the ending, I think you can say, if you're inclined, see, that's why you shouldn't have trusted them in the first place.
Mm.
See, you were right. Actually, if you had been, actually, your mistake was you got off your square when you faced resistance,
Mm.
Derek. If you would have stayed on your grind, your brother wouldn't have been in that situation. And if he was, you would have been able to get revenge as you were due in the first place.
Mm.
So it's interesting. I don't think that's the point. I don't think that's what the authors, what the director and the filmmaker are trying to get across. But there's enough room for it. There's enough. There's like the most compelling version of Derek's character is when he's the skinhead.
Mm.
It's not the reformed skinhead version of him. You know, so it's like you could there's like you could, what if you just watched the black and white parts of the film?
Mm.
What if that was the whole movie? Like that would be crazy. You know what I mean? Like you would see like a completely different story. Like they kind of put it together in a different way. I don't think the film is trying to glorify being a white supremacist, but I don't also think that it is condemning enough of that for you to not get that message if you wanted to.
Wow, that's tough. That's really powerful. Oh man. Reason why I say that is I didn't see anything that was like these guys were just running around with impunity, doing whatever they
Mhm.
wanted whenever they wanted. There was a consequence. He did go to jail. He didn't get off
Yeah,
to
he
cause
did.
an uproar.
Yeah.
They didn't show anything where it was like black people in blackface or shucking and jiving or any
Hmm.
stereotypical behavior by homosexuals or gay people, lesbians, et cetera, et cetera. It didn't show anything like it didn't call anybody by a derogatory name in their face, if you will. Like even the
Hmm.
scene with the what you call it with the at the supermarket, like they were pouring stuff and everything, but it was more like, how could you do that? Like it was shown through the lens of like these are just hardworking people. They were minding their business. They weren't doing anything hurting anyone.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah.
I
But yes, but I think like that's also your sensibility
uh,
that you're bringing to it.
mm,
Like, what if you didn't have that sensibility? What if you actually thought all the things that they were saying throughout the film?
oh, like if you
You
really
watch that scene completely
different,
differently. Like,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, you see, that's why I was saying like the fact that Derek never has to say like, no, all that stuff I was saying, I was
oh,
wrong. That's where the film is lacking to me.
mm,
And even with that, it's a great film, right? But like I think it allows us to look at it and see, oh, I see what's being said and done in the scene, but is that really explicitly what's there if you don't want to see it that way?
mm.
And maybe that's just art in general. So
No, no, I get it.
I get
No,
it.
no.
Yeah,
When you elaborated more and expand upon your point, it allowed me to see things. So there is some credence to what you're saying.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, no doubt, man. What role does education, specifically the relationship between Danny and his principal, Dr. Sweeney, play
Yeah.
in the possibility of redemption and personal growth?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like I was saying. I mean, Sweeney looks at Danny and Derek and he sees that they're smart guys. And that's true, right? Even in the debates that they're having at the table and what they're saying, like
Hmm.
the movie now what's interesting is the movie I think does really try hard to make the people in the DOC seem like they're idiots.
Of course.
It really does do that, right? It makes it seem like Derek and Cameron are like the brain trust. All the rest of these guys are kind of like idiots,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And then when Derek goes to jail, Cameron sees Danny as the
The
2.0
successor,
version.
yeah.
Right. So like the movie does that. And even when Derek makes the comment, I would never associate myself with like a backwoods organization like the Ku Klux Klan,
Hmm.
it's almost like there's like this hierarchy, this intellectual hierarchy that's in there
Hmm.
on the education side, right? So there's like, because Derek and Danny are smart, they're seen as a little bit different. And
Mm.
I think even Sweeney sees them as a little bit different because he's like, y'all are too smart to be doing something this stupid,
Yeah.
right? But the other thing is like I don't really know what what um, Sweeney is trying to get to in terms of re-educating Derek and Danny. You know, because of the way the movie ends, you don't see like all the rest of what American History X was going to be between Danny and Sweeney. Like,
What could
what
that
was
have been?
Sweeney? Yeah, what was Sweeney trying to get Danny to see by making him write that story about Derek?
Yeah.
Or like I said before, what were the books that he gave Derek in jail?
It's
Like, what was
alluded
that?
to that there were
What was
self-help books, and it was alluded
yeah?
to
What
that
was he reading? You
he was
know?
trying to give Danny insight to the problems that Derek was dealing with and the outcomes
Yeah,
and where you could find
yeah,
yourself.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I think like, and once again, this is, I admit, like for me, I know like I'm bringing a lot of my personal stuff to the movie, but I just feel like when it's so emotionally charged and it's racial at this level, you really got to be much more explicit because we're so programmed to see what we want to,
Mm,
especially when
yeah.
it's in a relationship to black and white things. So
No, you know what? It's food for thought, man. Definitely food for thought.
it
Let's get
is.
into this popcorn rating, though, man.
Yo, I'm giving it 4 boxes, man. I think it's a great film. Edward Norton is amazing in it. That's why he was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actor for it, right? Which was which is dope,
Yeah.
which is wild and dope at the same time. But yo, he's great in it, and the story is important. And there's stuff that you see in this film that you have not seen in other films since then. So on the surface of that, it's a movie that people should watch, and it's a movie that I like watching and I like talking about. Where I saw like the problems with it or the things that I would have wanted to see more of, like that's a part of me getting older and just kind of looking at it now from this stage. But 4 boxes, man, definitely go out and see it if you haven't already.
I'm with CJ. Dope movie. But here's my thing. I'm giving it 5 boxes. I think that this should be in the annals of great movies.
I agree.
Definitely think that this should be in the archives in Washington. You know, like um, where they supposedly put them in a keepsake.
The time capsule thing,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So I definitely think that this should be up there as I open the show with the aliens and everything. Um, I do have some things that I'm like, but all in all, I'm going with 5 boxes.
There it is, man. There it is. So, Mr. Will, what is your hot take on American History X?
Yeah, so there's a lot of things about this movie that are dope, like I said, and one of the things that really stands out is, like I mentioned, Dr. Sweeney, played by Avery Brooks. My hot take is he's the most radical character out of all of the characters within the movie, and
Mm,
and
interesting. I like that.
I think it's because he embodies, like for me, his eternal idealism and being so just being so like much of a proponent for Danny and for Derek, and being so optimistic about what their chances are and the survival, and at the same token being a realist. I think that he embodies and evokes the moral courage that most of these other individuals don't have. I think that
Mm,
he doesn't need a redemption arc because he's always on the side of what's right.
I
Um,
agree.
and I think that the way that he engages the students, like CJ was mentioning, like Michelle's Pfeiffer and Dangerous Minds, and I forget Sidney Poitier's character's name, but he's a teacher in a movie where he's integrating, where class is integrated. I forget the name, but nonetheless. And by the way, Terrence Howard is the guy that we were talking
Terrence
about.
Howard, yes, yeah.
Um,
Shout outs to
it
Terrence
takes
Howard.
me a minute to start, like, because I have so many
Yeah,
thoughts in my head, but yeah, I think that he did all of the work, all of the hard lifting that society as a whole often avoids doing, the accountability. And he is
I
the
agree.
reason why this film has a hero, and he's that hero.
Yo, I love that take, man. That's really cool. I like that. Yeah, Sweeney is the most revolutionary person. Yeah, that's dope, man. That's really dope.
Appreciate that.
So mine, I just wanted you to just bear with me because
Yeah.
this one was one that I thought about and I actually wrote it down. So I don't ever really
Yeah.
write
Go ahead, Gilly.
anything down, but here it is. This is my hot take on American History X. In 1972, poet, musician, and novelist Gil Scott Heron wrote a book called The Nigger Factory.
Mm.
The book was about a fictional black college experiencing tremendous upheaval due to a power struggle between the old school's black administration, the idealist student government, and a radical student group who were all invested in the vision for the campus. Heron's novel questions whether all these groups are unknowingly the creation of outside forces that benefit from their economic, ideological, and physical conflicts, with each other, regardless of who wins. The Nigger Factory is a critique of the larger, insidious systems of control that operates in the background all the time. American History X tells the story of a cracker factory. It offers us an America that produces characters like Derek and Danny Vinyard, boys preyed upon by men that see them as disposable beyond the cannon fodder against other human beings. They manipulate the Derricks and the Dannys by giving them a false sense of racial superiority and land ownership that can't survive the scrutiny of even minimal research. Like Heron's novel, American History X is fictional and grounded in reality. They both deal with the creation of a mentality, the nigger and the cracker, that never gives actual freedom, but only a cheap copy maintained through constant human conflict. Unfortunately, in the real world America, the broader society is often caught between the liberal and the conservative and the militia. American History X keeps Derek and the DOC squarely in the militia box. But in reality, the stakes are much higher because the Derek Vinyards teach high schools, patrol neighborhoods in police cars, give diagnosis in hospitals, and represent people in houses of governance. I'm ending this with a quote from Justin Kirkland, who wrote about this movie in Esquire in 2018. He wrote, "Perhaps the reason that American History X still feels so relevant 2 decades after its release is because we haven't done enough for it not to be. And I'm afraid we're going to be writing about American History X forever. I'm afraid of what will happen if we don't." That's my hot take on American History
That
X.
is powerful. Wow.
So that's where that is, man. Next week, we are coming back with the Rainmaker. So like we did some Rainmaker. We coming back with the Rainmaker next week. Once again, the Sticky Floors podcast is available wherever you get your podcasts. We are on Apple Podcasts. We are on Spotify Podcasts. We are on YouTube, where we're trying to get you to like and subscribe. This is our 98th episode. We are on our way to 100. We want 100 new survivors, 100 new subscribers by our 100th episode. So please hit that subscribe button so you'll get our drops in the future. We will see you next week.